Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Melinda Alexander, the creator and host of Own Your Power, Lead Your Way, a summit designed to empower leaders to break free from overfunctioning, stop living on autopilot, and create a life where next level success and true fulfillment coexist. Today's guest is Bebe Song, founder of Esanova, a visionary academy blending creativity, neuroscience, and leadership development. She's a credentialed coach with ICF and Neuro Leadership Institute, has taught in executive programs at Stanford's Graduate School of Business, and is accredited to lead wellness and mental health training for legal professionals, bringing mind-body wisdom into spaces that need it most. Bebe is on a mission to spark personal and societal renaissance by helping people reconnect with their creativity, purpose, and full potential. Welcome, Bebe. I'm so thrilled you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking with you as well.
It's a wonderful thing that Bebe is with us today. She has a breadth of knowledge that I know everyone is going to enjoy. Bebe, tell us a little bit about your story and how you came into doing the work that you're doing now.
Okay, sure. I can go back perhaps not the very beginning of my career, which had some learnings as well, but I'll go back to perhaps about 10, 15 years ago and explain how the work that I'm doing came about. So that was at the end of about a 5-year journey of communicating health and environmental innovation. I was a media entrepreneur. I had my media boutique for about 5 years, and I, did probably a few hundred interviews back when probably. You would call it podcast today, but this was way before podcast became a thing.
Pre-podcast years.
Yeah. So lots of stories from innovators and entrepreneurs, researchers, etc., on science and on health and environmental innovation, life sciences, and clean tech. But after all of these interviews, I began to notice that I began to see the limitation of technological innovation and the power of behavior, because you would hear the stories of, okay, you have this new drug or whatever therapy, but patients do not adhere to their regimen. They would do things that they know they're supposed to be doing for their health, but do not do. You would hear stories about energy efficiency and this new device that would be a lot more energy efficient, but then people would just buy another fridge. They would just buy something else because now they can save energy on this one device. Mm-hmm. So that got me to think about the human mind and the behavioral issues. In parallel, I was also going through a personal crisis. So my marriage wasn't working out, and we eventually had to have a divorce. And I kept wondering, why does he think like that? Why do I feel like this? Why does he feel like that? Why can't we make it work? And we struggled and struggled.
Right.
So that's another impetus for thinking about emotions and feelings. So that's how I began to be interested in the brain and the mind. I started to blog about what I learned, what I read about the brain and the mind, and how the neural understandings are applied in other areas of life, whether it's business or in law or health and whatever it might be, even criminology. So that's one strand. The other strand is, my educational background was in business. I have an MBA from Stanford. But at some point in my career, I began to realize that there's an artist in me that wanted to have an outlet. And I experimented different things. I was trying, at one point wanted to have a dance studio, and and then the communication in media was one outlet, and I was developing or producing videos to help people tell their stories. And this was when YouTube had barely started.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my outlet for a while. But towards the end of it, I was beginning to get a little tired because at that point YouTube was ubiquitous, and everybody could throw high quality, low quality video on the internet, and so
Yes.
my artist was seeking for something that's of a higher caliber. And then I stumbled upon the nexus of art and science, and I started to curate an art and science and technology gallery and began to think about, okay, what is art? What makes an artist? And how can I play a role as someone who does not have a formal art training? So those two strands are a bit like a double helix, twisting and turning and reconfiguring and permutating.
Yes,
And
I hear that.
yeah, and so that's my inner discovery. And then there's also external signals and opportunities. For example, being invited to teach in this new program, online program for leadership and innovation from Stanford. They were developing this new program online and invited me to be a part of the teaching team. And then I began to see the connection between arts-based methods, and innovation and leadership as well in the educational setting. So I began to give speeches in that area, and then I was invited to write a book with this special topic for an academic journal. And so one thing led to another. I have been a person that's in promoting the arts-based learning for human development. And during the pandemic, we started to organize experiences online to experiment not only such arts-based learning methods in person, but also online as well. And that's how I came, to this point. And what I'm working on now is to perhaps deepen the understanding in science and the understanding of the mind, but also further develop my own artistic outlet medium, and which is dancing. Yes. So, and to see how dance as a particular creative outlet method can play into human development, wellness, mental health, cognitive development, etc. So that's what brought me here. And I'm actually going to be doing a degree program in that area.
That's fantastic.
On the psychology behind the neuroaesthetics, and creativity.
I love that.
Develop new methodologies for teaching and coaching.
How exciting. I love that. I mean, we should not discount that we are in this body, right? We are in this body. Yes. And you called it neurostatic. Is that what you called it?
Neuroaesthetics.
Neuroaesthetic. So
the science behind,
behind happiness.
The science behind, not just happiness, but aesthetic experience. And happiness is part of it, but it's not. It's broader.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that some more too. That sounds really juicy. So, what I hear is in your multidisciplinary approach through neuroscience, creativity, body movement, and there was technology in the beginning, and you're still bringing technology into that now, right? Into your teaching and coaching programs. Did I miss something there? There was another piece. I feel like arts and sciences, dance and creativity. It all feels like the same area of our brain, that leads to innovation, that leads to inspiration. Am I right?
Yes. Yes. Well, the brain is a complex machine, yes. And I'm going to look forward to learning more about the neurology and the biological basis. But I've already been doing work, not only myself, but also collaborating with others in experiential practices in our teaching and coaching practice.
Oh, it sounds so much
So
fun.
yeah.
I'm ready to join up and follow you.
Well, let's talk in a year or so.
Sounds good.
With
Sounds
more
good. I'll
knowledge.
need a little
Yeah.
time. I'll need a little time, and I bet there's some other people leaning in right now to find out more. So let's tie this in with what we're talking about in Own Your Power, Lead Your Way, in our summit to break free from over functioning and really live a truly defined, redefined, successful, truly fulfilling life. So with those practices in mind, which we'll come back to, have you had in your life a time where over functioning, overworking, getting caught in the hamster wheel of life and autopilot mode, has that touched
Yeah.
you through yourself or your clients?
Oh, yes. When I read your description about the event, it really spoke to me, and I can see myself in what you're describing and the pain points. So I didn't think of over functioning or burnout in these terms,
Mm-hmm.
but my similar symptoms actually came fairly earlier in my career. I imagine many of your clients and the members in the community might be later in their career, but for me, it was a little earlier. That was so after my graduate school and after a few years in the corporate world, I I lost direction. I lost
Mm-hmm.
motivation, and I left it initially from a layoff, but it wasn't actually scary. I was actually happy with the layoff because it gave me an easy decision. I didn't have to decide, and I was already
Yes.
losing interest, and that was so I came from China, and as I was reflecting at the time on my path, up to that point, my life was like a straight line, more like a straight line or kind of neat ladders. You go to the best schools. My parents really invested a lot in my education. So I got to the best possible school that I could in China. And I was able to come to the US, which at the time was like going to the moon back then, to come from China to here,
Sure,
the
absolutely.
ultimate land of opportunities. It wasn't easy, and somehow I
Mhm.
got into a top tier school, and after that I had impressive names on my resume. But it wasn't fulfillment, and it was like,
Mm.
okay, is this all there could be?
Yeah,
And it
there was a
wasn't.
question. There was a question I was thinking about earlier that we touched on about thriving on paper, that we look good on
Mhm.
paper. But there was there's these turning points, right? Of dissatisfaction, of disconnection from ourselves. And then what next? What now? Like we know there's a time of change happening, right? So
Yeah.
it sounds like you were hitting all the marks on success, right? Checking all the boxes. Yeah. And then what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah. And then also, in parallel, there was also a personal issue of having to break up with a long distance relationship, and I was
Mm-hmm.
heartbroken. And so I needed a break. And up to that point, striving, I think I probably didn't have any vacation for 15 years because that was a luxury before I,
Oh.
making it in this country. And fortunately, I had my green card just around the time of the layoff, so I had freedom. What I did was taking months off. I really wanted to travel around the world, and my parents wouldn't allow me, so
Oh
I
yeah,
wasn't able to.
that was probably frowned upon, right? You're supposed to be using all those degrees and making money,
And
right?
look for another job. Yes,
Get another
and
job.
instead you want to travel around the world for a year. So it wasn't a year, but a few months. But I also just took random these rather different classes for a few months as well. And but then so that's what I had to do. But at the end of that period, I began to feel my energy rebuild, and and I realized what was driving me was what other people would find impressive, rather than what I
Right.
really wanted for myself.
Exactly. Right.
And so that wondering, that traveling, and just thinking about, about things, eventually led me to this doing a painting on top of Mount Tam, which is a mountain, beautiful mountain with overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So I went up there and did a little amateur painting, which is right behind me, to represent what's really important for me, the core values, which is discovery, creativity, love, accompanied with free spirit. And those core values have stayed with me ever since then, driving the work that I do and
Let's
my
go over them
desire.
again. I want to hear your core values again. Discovery. I know you said that.
Creativity,
Creativity,
love,
love,
and free spirit.
free
Free
spirit.
spirit.
Yeah, you're
Yeah. So
speaking.
those with my little,
Yeah.
amateur symbolism in the painting. That's what I
Is it
decided.
the one right behind your head, or is it the one to
Yeah.
the? Okay, lean over so I can see.
Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
it's
the
this
one
one.
you can
This one.
see. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't know which one. Okay. It's beautiful. But
Oh,
I
thank
see
you.
that. I feel your spirit was longing to get to
Mm,
be set free. I mean, we do
mm,
get into these. We're very, and I would say burnout is happening earlier and earlier these days with the push in our society and the speed at which everyone's working.
mm,
I see it as early as people in their 20s, not just a
mm,
few a few years outside of college. Even they're
mm,
especially in the tech industry. It's just the push
mm,
and the speed at which we're communicating, the degree at which we're expected to perform and work. I'm finding that I see overfunctioning happening right away, and then burnout.
mm,
That overfunctioning is kind of like your road to burnout. You may not be burned out,
mm,
but you're on the way. So we want to catch this prior to, and that's what it sounds like you did. You had the opportunity because of that layoff to take a break, even though your parents, up against the societal pressures, the cultural pressures, and your family pressures, you did you listened to yourself and you took that time away, which I commend you. That's bravery right there. It takes courage and bravery to do
oh,
something outside the
craziness.
norm. It does. And
uh,
travel and go up and paint that painting, and to self-attune to what I really want in life: discovery, creativity, love, and free spirit, which still shines through today in all of your work.
thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
want to
But
reflect that back to you.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. But it's not easy. And I can tell you, even with
Mm.
that reminder, the perfectionist, we were talking about perfectionism, and it's kind of almost like ingrained. And I remember, I just recall when in middle school, a math teacher one day decided, instead of giving us grades, asked us to grade ourselves. And I give myself a really low mark among the class, even though, I was pretty good at math. And in fact, the college entrance exam, I had perfect score on it. So that was the first indication that I had just, like, sometimes really, really unnecessarily high standards on myself. And then we talked about, just putting in extra work earlier.
Mhm.
Remember what you were saying. So my mom would say, "You're spending hours for that one single pixel." So this was when I was, doing graphics and producing
Uh-huh.
video and the media, etc. So it's often, quite often, still there.
Oh,
And when I
yes. Yes.
facilitating, workshops, or, for example, I would be so uptight. I was working with an artist and was saying, "Oh, shouldn't we get them to think about their common goal, and before we set them to do this collage?" And she would say, "No, just let them do it and see what emerges." So it's still, there. I'm just perhaps more cognizant about it, and perhaps I'm a little more effective in calming that down. But it's never
It never just
ending.
vanishes, right? It never does. And it goes back to neuroscience, because I have a fascination in neuroscience too. And like you said in the beginning, why do we do the things we do? Right? So we know what's good for us, but we often don't do it, right? So there's like patterns. There's patterns that are taught to us, modeled to us, that we mimic, and that are in our bodies. They're deeply set in our bodies and our brains. And I feel like we try to use mind power, and we try to really will it to change. And I think one of the beautiful things is to recognize that we do have these places inside of ourselves. That doesn't mean we're 100% fixed. It's like we were talking about, I used the word static earlier instead of ecstatic. And I thought, oh, that's actually kind of an interesting arc, right? So we want to move, we have these places that feel static and stuck. You know, and we want to move over into discovery, creativity, love, freedom, expression, being ourselves in the world, like truly embodying ourselves, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking that we accept those places and we hold them close and we love up on them because they're really our child, are really our the child self that got programmed, right? Programmed and modeled, whether consciously or unconsciously. It's still there. So what do we do around what we do around that is what you're doing. This is the work that we're doing. We're talking about where we have a default to overfunction, default into people please, default into perfectionism, default into not having good boundaries, giving everything away, taking care of everyone else. We have to notice our defaults, right? Whoop, that's the pattern. That's the compulsive. And so how do we switch it?
And that default,
Repattern? Yeah.
right. And just to add a little more about the default, there's a biological reason for that as well. You know, prehistorically, the ancestors of our ancestors had to face the fear of being eaten in the savannas. But as we evolved, the social fear is as strong as the as that native fear where our ancestors faced. And so you have this fear of being not accepted, being embarrassed, not being good enough as seen by others. So it's natural. So it's not like there's something wrong in you. So it's a natural, it's kind of an evolutionary a trait in us. And then the question is, how do we manage that?
Yeah, and I think number one, recognize it's natural. That everyone has these fears or reactivities, and that it's okay. Like, it's not that you have a reaction or a tendency or a feeling, but it's just to recognize it, that it's okay, and then choose possibly. I mean, let's get into we've noticed it, and now what? What do we do next, baby? What do you do in your work with folks to help them repattern their the things they want, the static places where they're stuck in their lives?
Yeah. Well, I as mentioned earlier, so I try to bring in arts and creativity into that mix. So, for example, using it's not necessarily about becoming an artist per se, but rather the mindset, the approach, the processes of these arts-based methods. And I use the analogy of using those methods as they're like a submarine that goes into your subconscious, or ATV, altering vehicles that take you to places that you may not naturally think of going. And the purpose of that is to go inner, to discover, to have self-awareness. And in that process, then you honor different parts of yourself that perhaps have been ignored. And the result is, I also use the analogy of a tree. So that gives you the emotional, the soulful, spiritual rooting for healing, for forgiving yourself, for being kind to yourself, for knowing yourself. But also above the ground helps creative blossoming of what you want, of something, whatever you are envisioning, and help that coming to fruition. So that's what I try to do
I love that.
when working with people.
Mm-hmm. I find that nature is often an inspiration for us. If we can just connect with the nature of, like you're saying, like the rootedness of the tree and the blossoming of the canopy of the tree as it reaches towards the sun, a metaphor for our lives. And I've even as you spoke, the visualization of that, it tying in with the neuroscience opens up different areas of the brain, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. We only have access to the conscious, where your frontal cortex allows you to do the decision making, the planning, etc. That things that we are the over functioning people are most proud of. Your cognitive abilities. Yes. But we have also a subconscious that we often don't have access to. Perhaps you do when you're sleeping. Your dreams perhaps tell you something about your subconscious. But often, if we don't take the time, we don't have access, and then that becomes parts of you that are ignored, and as that accumulates, then you begin to suffer. They either manifest as a you become listless, losing energy, or they may act out and have an episode of health or whatever, a psychological outbreak. So being aware and attending to those parts of yourself is a key component for combating that overfunctioning.
So in your own personal life, when you started to explore these practices, how did it inform you personally on your deeper knowing of what you needed, and then how did it become an inspiration for your future, or inform your mission? Yeah. Turning point.
So I mentioned, well, there are different turning points for different branches of my work. I think the more recent was we're talking about somatics and perhaps dance and movement. That was after the running workshops for a while, including the ones that we did online. I think, as I mentioned, one, I wanted to dive deeper into the science, and the other is also to develop my own artistic medium. I loved working with other artists, painters, poets, musicians, etc. But I also wanted my own inner artist to blossom more. So I went back to dancing, which was something that I started doing right after college, but I kept dropping it because that was not, it's not important. It's not something that
we've also been taught that it's not important, right? So there's a default thing that tries to push those creative arts out, and they're actually very important, aren't they?
Exactly. And so I wanted to reawaken that. And when I turned 50, which was a milestone.
And no one believes she's 50. No one believes you're 50.
Thank you. Perhaps Zoom helps, technology.
Sorry to interrupt you. You are beautiful.
No, thank you. So are you. I think we're a similar age, as we had found out earlier. So that was kind of a somewhat traumatic milestone. Oh my God, this is half a century. But I told myself, okay, what my resolution is, in 10 years, I want to be almost, more or less the same physically and mentally as what I am now. And part of that was I have a really good friend who's been a dancer. He danced for the last 15 years, and I really admired it. So I wanted to go back to that and reawaken. And I also know that even though I said this is not important, I kept going to as a hobby, going from ballroom with my mom led me to, and then salsa and Argentine
Ooh.
tango. And every time when I was down and I go back to dancing, I'm reminded how happy I am
Yes.
when I go out dancing. And
Yes.
that, along with the desire to develop further my own artistic medium, was what prompted me to go back to dancing. And as I did that and think about, okay, how could that actually be useful for my professional work,
Mhm.
I began to realize, yes, there is a lot in movement that I hadn't thought about. Not only dance as a one artistic form, but also how the role it plays in the mental development.
Yes.
There are lots of research that shows, movement sharpens attention,
Mhm.
preserves memory, and certainly catalyzes creativity. And it, I also learned the notion, the notion of extended mind. We tend to think of the mind as, above the neck,
That's right.
forgetting about the body. Body is just the a dumb chunk of meat, but it's not. We have we have neurons that live in our head. Certainly, most of the neurons, but also in our heart and in
Mhm.
the gut. So the
Mhm.
mind is really the neural system is all over our body. And personally, I started to take learn another dance form, which is contemporary dance, because I wanted to learn how that could be used as a way to there's vocabulary and freedom that perhaps could be adopted into leadership development. And as part of that exercise, I processed a deep grief in me that has
Mhm.
lived in myself for decades. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
I choreographed and danced a piece as expression, and that
Mhm.
was really powerful. And you're engaging not only the mind. There's a lot going on when you dance,
Yes.
right? So they call it a pleasure double play. Music gives you this reward. Activate the music part of it taps the brain's reward center, but then the movement gets the sensory and motor neurons going. But it's more than that. There's also the vestibular. There's a proprioception,
Mhm.
your notion, your understanding of where you are in space, etc. So the multifaceted understanding of the mind is not only getting your body to move, but it's really doing a lot for the mind as well.
Yes.
And
We
one
are all
thing,
connected, aren't we? It's not
yeah,
just
yeah,
like you said, just a
right.
chunk of meat.
And as we all
Yes.
getting older,
Mhm.
there's also a direct benefit to cognitive health. There are lots of
Mhm.
studies showing that the movement and creative movement um, uh, help preserve cognitive or slows the cognitive decline. I'm
Yes.
noticing memory
Mhm.
loss in my mom, and I'm and that memory cognitive decline starts decades earlier before one gets dementia or Alzheimer's. So those
Mhm.
are the personal things that catalyze the direction that I'm taking in work as
It
well.
sounds, I mean, it sounds very supportive for the entire body, mind, and our whole entire system and soul. I know with this work and just tying in with overworking, overfunctioning, stress, anxiety, our pushing ourselves, those things are so corrosive and depleting to our system. We can often feel numbed out and disconnected from our own lives and ourselves. These practices also, I would anticipate, at least as and through my own experience that you're speaking of, reconnect us as a whole body, a whole being, a whole brain. Our mind body connection is so intrinsically important to our health and well-being. So not only just anti-aging and all of that, but like the
Mm-hmm.
release of these stresses, these these places that we hold emotion in our body, like you said,
Yes.
processing out grief. So many
Mm-hmm.
different benefits that I hear from the wisdom of your work. I love hearing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people know. I just to step back, because Baby's work blends creativity, somatics, science, movement in a unique way. I don't know if our audience has, if no one's spoken about somatics and what that means. You might just define that as a part of your. I know we've mentioned it a couple of times. Can you just expand on what somatics is?
Somatics, I'm not necessarily an expert in it. I'm still
Okay.
a learner in that myself, but it's the intelligence or understanding awareness of um, your physical elements, your organs, um, your biological makeup, and
Yes.
so to derive and utilize wisdom that's informed from that understanding.
Yeah, the body,
So,
this, as my understanding, soma means body. So it's
mhm,
the
yes,
soma is the body, so the body's
yes,
intelligence, yes, the body's
yes, hmm
wisdom. And so
hmm
all that baby is she's giving you a large view, and it encompasses this amazing vehicle that we're traveling in this life. And to discount ourselves from the body's wisdom is to cut off a lot of intelligence in our lives, and also to deplete our health and well-being and longevity.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well
yeah,
said. Hmm hmm
yeah, just from
Yeah,
mirroring back what I'm hearing from you and all of this wisdom. So tell us about what you're excited about. What are you moving into right now with your work, and what's next for you? What's exciting you?
yeah.
You
Well,
kind of touched on it a little bit here, but yeah, let's go.
yeah. So I'm hoping to. So on the one hand, I'm developing coaching programs, um, perhaps group coaching programs um, for some kind of a transition, life transition. I've helped clients with perhaps going from one job to another, but I really want to be able to want to support people that may be taking even more drastic transitions, and that could be polymaths, inner polymaths that have been working in one area, but really want to develop another area of their passion, whether it's vocationally or avocationally.
Mhm.
Perhaps someone who wants to take a sabbatical to find out what their next chapter might be, and even if it's a really different, really drastic change. Perhaps it's people in towards their later career that they're contemplating or facing retirement and planning on what their retirement life would be. And I don't believe the traditional notion of retirement. We're now all living so much longer. And the traditional
Yes.
model, I think, is really leaving a lot of our potential to waste. And so helping people to reimagine what their retirement might be, and perhaps even develop a new chapter of
Mhm.
their productive and creative life. And so that's one strand, and the other is, as I mentioned, going into a more systematic study on the cognitive science, filling up. I've been using based on public research and existing models, but I want to perhaps also develop my own research,
Mhm.
especially in what the Downson movement method, how that could be applied to health, healing, and also creative development and perhaps innovation. So that's another a thread of what I'm going to be working on, and I'm hoping to be able to develop new methods and to apply that to the support for clients.
Yes.
So that's what I'm excited about.
It's very exciting. Both of those, both your research, and I love that you're developing coaching programs for folks in life transitions.
Mm.
Life is quite dynamic these days, and it's in technology itself is changing our lives so quickly. It's hard to keep up with. And as we age, that group of folks that are moving into quote unquote retirement, and yeah, we have like many decades left of our life from the time that people traditionally retired in the past. And there's so much wisdom. There's so much
Yes.
wisdom at that point in your life. There, it feels like a beautiful chapter to develop your life's work at that time
Hmm.
in our lives. We actually know ourselves better. We have more grace and presence, I
Hmm.
hope. I
Hmm.
know it's always, we're always growing and changing, but our lives aren't over yet and we shouldn't be put out to pasture. So I
No.
absolutely love that you're that you're creating programs for all of those life transitions. And
Yeah.
but especially the part of me that is also growing into what is called a senior citizen is like I still am not quite in reality, uh, it doesn't, our minds get stuck that we're younger than we think we are until we hear our years. But so why not take advantage of that and rebirth, recreate something new?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so we have this capacity, but society hasn't caught up with it. There are not enough resources
Mm-hmm.
to support that. We have schools. You go to your different whatever college and graduate school.
Mm-hmm.
There haven't been systems that support learning for our
Yeah.
seniors. You
Yeah.
have here and there, but it's not, it's certainly far from enough. And so I want to be part of that, building that support and bringing people together on that journey to really capitalize or capture more of that potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even a nice to have, it's even essential. Because
Essential.
because I recently I saw a long-term mentor. He's in his 80s and he's still sharp and
Mm-hmm.
still I was really just blown away. And what he told me is that stay engaged, whether it's an employment or a volunteer work. He's challenging himself with these really complex projects, and he's keeping his mind sharp. And he
Mm-hmm.
told me stories about his friends who became more of a retiree, and a few years later they began to have decline. So it's really must have that we have to
Absolutely.
keep our mind active. My doggy, I have a dog, and we
Mm-hmm.
take him to dog training classes. And the
Mm-hmm.
dog trainer said, if you don't want your dog to have, it's a little premature, your mind is still like a puppy, but he said, if you don't want your dogs to become to have Alzheimer's, I guess dogs can have
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer's
Sure.
too, because
Neurodegeneration.
they're also
Absolutely.
living longer.
Mm-hmm.
He said, teach them something new every month. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, that's just like humans. And
Of
even more
course.
so, we have to learn something to keep our mind engaged and alive. Otherwise, it would atrophy. So,
Yes, yes. Let's
yeah.
keep it fresh. Let's keep it fresh, keep learning, keep having new experiences, and really living vitally alive lives. I've tried to come up with another way of saying that, but vitally alive. We want to be vitally alive and engaged. And I do feel like it is necessary. I also feel like it's necessary for society to, we don't need to relegate those that are aging out of certain things to a life of, no offense, to bingo and pickleball, or nothing wrong with bingo and pickleball, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, what if you want to go back to school and you want to learn that thing that you really are interested in, and you want to engage in a new development of something that's just some dream that you've always had, whether it's to be an artist, to discover something new, to learn learn about neuroscience. I mean, all of those limitations and all of those programs of limitations and self-limitation should be thrown out the window.
I agree.
Yeah. And I love that you're creating that for folks. That's the possibilities of just moving forward, in our lives and continually to engage.
Yeah, there are lots of possibilities.
Yes,
yeah, and it's up to us to realize them,
to embrace them, and to allow them for ourselves. Yes, let's take the limits off. Well, let's talk about the free gift that you have for the audience today. I hear you have something special. Anything you want to share there?
Sure. I thought, given what we were talking about, perhaps a recording of some of our, especially one of them, I think it's easier, more accessible to many more people, because people may not think that, oh, I'm not an artist and I don't know where to start. And this is a what we call play shop that we first organized during the pandemic to help people connect and tap into their creativity and give them some guidance towards that, and calm their anxiety at the time. So I call it sensorium, and this is a sensorium. It's like a sanctuary for the soul. And it's very simple. It starts with very simple exercises, and that's to reawaken our senses. We all know our five senses, so it's some exercises to help you engage with the senses. And there are also other types of senses. I mentioned the proprioception. There's also the interoception, knowing what's happening. Yep. Within your body, part of somatics. Chronoception, your concept of time, etc. So there are many different senses. But my point is, let's get started in, have a place to start. And so it's like exercises to tap into your senses.
That sounds like a beautiful gift. That sounds like a really beautiful. Excuse me. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah. So hopefully, that's a useful place to start, and something that your audience would enjoy.
I bet everyone is nodding at home, like, give it to me, because this is it's actually taking all of the things that we're talking about and getting you started. Let's get you started. Let's get you reconnected. If you feel disconnected, this play shop, this sensorium sounds like a delicious thing to in an experiential way dive into. Thank you for offering that. It's a beautiful, offering for the audience. So everyone, that link is going to be below this, as well as all of the ways to connect with Bebe's work, Bebe's song through Esanova. All those links, as well as the free gift, will be listed right below this video today. And then connect with us as well on the Facebook Live. We'll be having different speakers, different days for Q&As, for other engaged activities, maybe some practical play shop examples of what we can do together live. And so if you just connect with us, if you're not in the Facebook group, jump in the Facebook group. If Facebook is not for you, that's okay too, but maybe we'll see you there. Baby, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your life's work, your passions, your story with us today. It's been such a pleasure to have you on Own Your Power, Lead Your Way. Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure for me as well.
It's an honor to have you here. And I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Thank you so much.
I look forward to hearing from your other speakers, and perhaps interacting with the members of the community.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah. All right. We'll definitely be reconnecting and staying and also following your work, baby, as it continues to develop, your exciting work. I really look forward to it, to hearing more. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned.